All right, let's talk about some coaching updates because at the time of this recording, John Harbaugh literally just got fired. So now is the perfect time, in my opinion, to talk about the Denver Broncos coaches and some of the teams that could be trying to poach all of these coaches. Now, in all of these reports from Diana Russini, from Adam Schefter, from Tom Pelissero, and the like, there are 3 names that are currently on the Denver Broncos staff that are currently being talked about as gaining momentum to be coaches elsewhere, a.k.a. not with the Broncos in 2026. Vance Joseph, our DC, that's the obvious one. But Jim Leonhard has been gaining a lot of traction, and more importantly, so is Davis Webb. We're going to touch on every single coach on this episode. Welcome in Broncos country to the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. This is, of course, going to be expected. NFL teams are going to try and poach your coaching staff when you have a 14-3 record. It happens every year. This happens constantly to teams like the Philadelphia Eagles. This happens constantly to teams like the Los Angeles Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. It's nonstop. So if you're thinking that this is unprecedented, it ain't. But before we break down where each coach is being rumored to have interest in, make sure you continue the conversation with your Broncos takes on either one or both of my social media platforms. Moose_NFL, I made it nice and simple for you. Give me a follow on both and make sure you continue the conversation right there, right now. Let's start, of course, with Vance Joseph. He's the biggest name out of all of this. Joseph is expected now, according to multiple reports from Adam Schefter, that he's going to be at least interviewing for 5 out of the now 7 jobs open after John Harbaugh got let go. And this, of course, like I told you, I was pretty okay with. I kind of knew halfway through this season with how good the Broncos defense was that Vance Joseph was going to be getting a lot of calls. Does that mean he's going to take every job that comes his way or every interview that comes his way? No. And is there still a possibility that VJ comes back? Yes. But as of right now, the most interested teams are the Tennessee Titans, the New York Giants, and the Arizona Cardinals. He does have that connection with Arizona, and that to me kind of looks like that could be the highest bidder right there, specifically because they just got rid of Jonathan Gannon, who was also a defensive head coach. So they might want to keep that defensive core that they've got in Arizona together just with a new head coach. So keep an eye out for the Cardinals and the Giants. Now, the Giants, of course, are all in on John Harbaugh. However, I do believe that with some recent developments, they could very easily be in the Vance Joseph sweepstakes as well if Harbaugh decides to go somewhere else. All right, that's the Vance Joseph update, which we talked a little bit about yesterday. Now on to the 2 names that you really need to know. Jim Leonhard and Davis Webb. Let's start, of course, with Jim Leonhard, our defensive secondaries coach and defensive passing game coordinator. According to multiple reports, the Cowboys are super interested in Jim Leonhard. In fact, I got this one from a source directly tied to the Cowboys. Now, this is not this is the most, likely going to happen, but this is where he ranked his official, I believe this is our Cowboys report host, by the way, Tom Downey, who said this. This is his number 1 choice for new defensive coordinator now that Matt Eberflus is out in Dallas. Jim Leonhard, Brian Flores, Raheem Morris, Jonathan Gannon, and Jim Schwartz. Now, I have a plan for Jim Leonhard in the event that Vance Joseph leaves because I'm not letting him walk out the building if Vance Joseph does end up leaving Mile High. I'm going to tell you what that plan is coming up here in just a moment. Before I do that, I have to tell you about our friends over at Rocket Money. Every single month, I was spending countless hours and countless dollars trying to budget my finances. It just took way too long, and that's why I had to download Rocket Money to make sure that it was all super convenient. Did you know that I had a food app I was paying for from 2023 that I still had no idea was in existence? Well, That's where Rocket Money comes in, because it is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Their dashboard lays out your total financial picture, including bill due dates and paydays, in a way that is easy to digest. You can even automatically create custom budgets based off of your past spending. Rocket Money, super user-friendly, continuously saves Uncle Boost money every single month, including over $2.5 billion for their users total and $880 million in canceled subscriptions alone. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/Broncos chat. That's rocketmoney.com/Broncos chat. Rocketmoney.com/Broncos chats. All of that in the comments and description of today's video. So Vance Joseph, of course, is Moose's choice to stay as the Broncos defensive coordinator. I want to get that very clear. I would throw the bag at defensive Vance Joseph. However, in the event that he leaves, Jim Leonhard is my next choice. Why? Because the amount of experience he has, whether he was at Wisconsin or now under Sean Payton's staff, is unmatched. But there are some other names as well. Jamar Cain is one of those names, our defensive lines coach here in Mile High. He could be a nice little Vance Joseph replacement. Jim Leonhard, of course, the defensive game passing coordinator, or defensive pass game coordinator, my apologies. And then, of course, Aiden Durd, who is the current Seattle Seahawks defensive coordinator, but he is being kind of interviewed for head coaching jobs, so this one's a little hit and miss. But these two right here, if you wanted to keep it in-house, would be option A, option 1A. Both of these guys are sensational. Jim Leonhard has a little bit more play calling experience as a head coach, so I'd be going with Jim Leonhard. But Broncos Wire has been keeping up with all of the coaching stuff, every single update that you need to know, and here's what they just put out. According to ESPN's Rich Cimini, I think is how you say it, Broncos defensive pass game coordinator and assistant head coach Jim Leonhard is a name to watch out for the Jets defensive coordinator job. Interesting. And the teams to watch specifically for Leonhard are the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Jets. Now, why would you go to either of these teams? Beats me. The Jets are an absolute dumpster fire, and this team's defense frickin' sucks. So I would stay in Mile High and bet on Vance Joseph leaving so that you could become the next defensive coordinator if that's what ends up shaking out. So, I'm going to ask you that very same question. In the event that Vance Joseph leaves, and of course, we don't want him to, but if he does, who do you want as our next defensive coordinator? Let me know in the comment section down below. Last bit of news, and this one is the one that I'm struggling with the most. Davis Webb, and I'll tell you why I'm struggling with it. I know he doesn't call plays, but my God, if he did, this guy is a genius. Let me tell you what Broncos Wire had to say about Davis Webb. According to The Athletic's Diana Russini, Broncos quarterbacks coach Davis Webb and secondary coach Jim Leonhard are getting real momentum as potential candidates for larger roles elsewhere next season. Let me be clear when I say this. I want Webb to stay badly. I think there's a world in which Sean Payton, at some point in the next couple of years, gives up play calling. That's not going to be this year. It might not even be next year. But there is a world in which Davis Webb could end up taking over the play calling at Mile High. But Diana Russini goes on in her most recent tweet that several young coaches are generating real momentum in league circles, including Davis Webb, Grant Udinski for the Jaguars, and Thomas Brown, the passing game coordinator, I believe, for the New England Patriots. But Davis Webb showed me so much this preseason that I don't want to let him walk out the door. He showed expert play calling in the 2025 preseason. Play calling that included stretching the ball down the field with an assertive style and wanting to attack opposing defenses off the play action. He would let the defense bite on the run, and then when he'd play fake, he'd roll out and let Stidham, who was playing like the best quarterback in the preseason, you can't deny it, he would let Stidham stretch that ball down the field. And I told you, I think there is a real-world possibility in which Webb gets poached from the New York Football Giants if Vance takes the job there. I think that's a real possibility. There's been rumors all over. I spoke to our Giants host, Marshall Green, who said the resounding thought around the organization is that if Vance Joseph gets the job, he's taken Davis Webb with him. Well, remember, Davis Webb was one of the Giants' quarterbacks, after all. So he does have that tie to the Meadowlands. Look, all of this is small potatoes to a team that's got Super Bowl aspirations, right? And we shouldn't be surprised that other teams want our coaches because they are very good coaches. In the hierarchy of letting players go or coaches go, I think I'd be most okay with letting go Jim Leonhard. I don't want any of them to go, but I'd be most okay with that. Then probably Vance. I really want Davis Webb to stay. I think if you made him the offensive coordinator next year, you would see your offense explode because you wouldn't get nearly as conservative screen style Bo Nix throwing behind the line of scrimmage as you do with Sean Payton's. I'm not saying that Sean Payton's play calling is awful, but I don't think it's nearly aggressive enough. There you go. That's right. Thank you, Producer Reed. It's simple. So, before we get on out of here, keep the conversation going. If you disagree, if you agree, if you just want to say hi, send me a message on X or on Instagram. Broncos country, that's all I got for you today. A mile-high salute to you. Be cool.